this radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
All audible.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Hey, your live stream has some great music going on. Aw, it's over. Ooh, I like it. I see what you did there. Blow the happy ending. Huh? Is that not? What you just said would always fix everything that I do. Don't even think for a second. Yeah, they hear me, but not you. Yeah.
Here. Oh, that's right. Okay, now they'll hear me. It's this double mic thing. It's crazy, but at least they work.
Johnny.
Yes, this is good. It's today's ventriloquism show. That's what the show is
We
today.
can't hear you, Hal. Very quiet today. No sound from Hal. Hey, Hal,
All right.
over here.
No, yes, they get it. I know it's minutes behind. They'll catch up. It's fine. We're all right. So.
You sure you don't want me to read all the chat?
Yes, I do. I like it's one of those like chatbot speaking apps that gets stuck. Like when you update your software and it's.
We hear you, Hal. Can't see Johnny.
Quit it.
There you go.
Quit it. I know.
Gotcha.
I'm going to get fired. All right. So the fascinating thing of the week, and I think this will be something that it should eventually, to some level, possibly placate the naysayers and the gainsayers in the world, who are all just panicking upon panicking upon panicking that nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens, and Merrick Garland's not doing anything, and I don't know why, and the whole thing's terrible, and there is no justice. There must be no peace. When in reality, you've got a lot of these folks, essentially, I think, and you know me, I'm a cautious fella. Although my general rule is safety third, as we know, it is incredibly crucial that in a circumstance where you're going after someone like, Trump and his crazy kin, that you take extra care about this kind of circumstance, because my biggest concern is not so much that you're going to tip him off and Trump's going to get a great lawyer and all this is going to work out to his benefit, blah blah blah. None of that. It's that his followers are indeed lunatics. They are. There's nothing. There is a real danger that unless you chip away at the illusion around Donald Trump, his followers will continue to have this messianic view of him. And what you really have to do is get, ultimately make them sort of tired of him. And that may be something that's right around the corner. But currently, the big news, of course, is that yesterday a warrant was issued for Stephen K. Bannon. He was indicted Friday by a Washington grand jury. Now, the right-wing vlogosphere all over the YouTubes, the BitChutes, the Getters, the Parlors, the Birthers, the Truthers, whatever their sites are, they're all aflutter they're all a freak out about that his constitutional rights are being denied, and they're weaponizing the Justice Department. And I know.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, right. Wishful thinking, I think, for most folks. And it's funny, but if you listen to people on the Democratic side of the aisle, this can't happen fast enough. Meanwhile, it is a race against time. As far as the subpoenas that are coming out for the original 4, that included Bannon, and then the 10 that dropped this week, there is definitely a cascade of legal activity going on right now. Now, the fascinating part is that indictment, which of course all of the folks in the in Trump world are very upset about,
of course,
which is of course a violation of his rights, and of course a horrifying miscarriage of justice. Even though on the 5th he was like, "Tune in tomorrow, all hell's going to break loose." Like, if anybody had a foreknowledge of what was going to happen on the 6th, even beyond Trump, it was Steve Bannon and his crowd. Because, quite frankly, how they always say, like, follow the money, right? That's the quote we've heard for
just follow the money
all the time. Even though that line was made up in All the King in All the President's Men, All the King's Men, All the President's Men, and it was like a conflation line. It was the writer of the screenplay trying to shoehorn a bunch of concepts
is that
into
Kiefer
one.
Sutherland saying that?
No, that's Hal Holbrook.
just follow the money.
That's from All the President's Men. And although Kiefer Sutherland is slowly turning into Hal Holbrook over time, I suppose. Yeah. So
He
yes,
may well be.
but you have to understand, there were people in the White House who I believe that were totally in line with all this stuff. There were people obviously in Trump's circle that were totally in line with this stuff. Trump himself was, had a lot of wishful thinking about these things. However, they may have been a little more gun shy or more apt to tap the brakes than the Steve Bannons and the Alex Joneses of the world, because frankly, these folks have nothing to lose, at least in their estimation at the time, right? Trump could, overstep his bounds, end up, triggering an insurrection, get tossed in jail, right? This is a genuine thought as someone who's actually holding office, actually manipulating the law. There are genuine
or as
legal
Hal Vickery says in the chat, be forced to wear only one shirt.
That's right. In the Steve Bannon world, yes. In the multi-layered Steve Bannon world. Well, in this case, most of what Steve Bannon and his crowd, and certainly Alex Jones, they always hide behind the First Amendment. Because if they say anything short of, see that guy, kill him, they believe that it's just, it's an excited utterance or something.
Boy, do they kind of say that, though.
Oh, they kind of say that. Right.
Yeah.
And when you say it in time with other stuff, and you were at the Willard Hotel on the day that the Trump organization, the campaign itself and Trump himself was talking back and forth with Rudy Giuliani and other people at the Willard, and they were running command centers that were paid for by Jeanine Pirro because one of the other insurrectionist leaders stiffed them on the bill. So she swooped in to pay this. By the way, Trump's a billionaire. Like, at a certain point, all right, maybe he's a cheap billionaire and he just doesn't want to pay for it. Or maybe he is concerned that the money will be traced back to him. What kind of self-respecting, mobbed-up New York billionaire doesn't have multiple ways to launder money? I recognize that Michael Cohen is out of the picture, but you can't replace him. There's not another dude in the criminal
there's
lawyer.
Definitely another Michael Cohen out there.
Yeah, in the criminal lawyer Pez dispenser that wants to be the next Roy Cohn. Yeah, where's Ginny Thomas when you need her? Says WW157 in the chat room. Right. So this is a grand jury came to these conclusions, and all over Friday when this news came out, Hannity to Matt Gaetz and all these other people coming out saying this is a miscarriage of justice. They are weaponizing the Department of Justice. This is terrible. This is proof that Biden is a runaway dictator who can't find his shoes in the morning, but is also a criminal mastermind, but also can't say anything and will get run over by anybody in the world, but is the leader of the biggest criminal enterprise on earth. I know if you're ping-ponging back and forth between the two conspiracy theories, between doddering old man with dementia and criminal mastermind, I would suggest maybe go watch Phil Hartman's Reagan sketch, because that seems to be the seed of the whole thing back in the day. One of the select committee's functions, as set forth in the House resolution, was to investigate the facts, circumstances, causes relating to the domestic terrorist attack on the Capitol, including facts and and circumstances relating to influencing factors that contributed to the domestic terrorist attack on the Capitol, and how technology, including online platforms, financing, and malign foreign influence operations and campaigns have factored into the motivation. So they get to young Steve Bannon, a young guy fresh out of the seed pod, cresting up out of the dinosaur egg, full grown with gin blossoms and a green camo coat on.
Mucus still drying.
Yes, you're right. So the part of the indictment that kind of stands out and that is crucial to this entire thing is, of course, the Select Committee has reason to believe that you have information relevant to understanding important activities. I love activities. It's so stepbrothers. That led to and informed the events of the Capitol at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. For example, you have been identified as present at the Willard Hotel on January 5th, 2021, during an effort to persuade members of Congress to block the certification of the election the next day, and in relation to other activities on January 6th. Moreover, you are quoted. Not moreover. Yeah, you don't want that showing up in your legal documents. Moreover, you are quoted as saying on January 5th, 2021, that, quote, all hell is going to break loose tomorrow, according to the Select Committee seeks both documents and your deposition testimony regarding these and multiple other matters that are within the scope of the Select Committee's inquiry. Now, seeing that video, seeing some of the content of communications that they already have from other people, the grand jury saw that and went, yeah, snatch that dude up. And so the subpoena was honored, and an arrest warrant was put out as he was indicted yesterday on contempt of Congress. And this is going to be an interesting weekend for Steve. I agree with Malcolm Nance and others that he is indeed a flight risk, because not only does he have, I guess, multiple passports and multiple names, wouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, would you use that picture? But he also could hop on the, I guess the luxury barge of one of his financial handlers from any number of foreign adversarial countries that support his, insurrection F America plans. When we come back, I want to get to the point that there is a sort of a strategy around this that throw the insurrectionists, the Jan 6 troops, throw them to the wolves and allow Trump to distance himself. And Bannon is effectively caught in the middle of that. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Megaworldwide on WCPT, 8:20 a.m. I'm reading at the same time that I'm speaking. That's never a good thing. WCPT, 8:20 a.m. Yeah, so we have, let me grab something that I printed something out real quick. Look at that. I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
I'll be right back, too. I'm going to go grab a can of seltzer.
Don't be nice.
I will.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. There we go. Now, we're back. And hold on, I'll put my headphones in so I can actually hear you. Oh, he left. Great. No one's there? Awesome. Hope his bail is $100 million. Yeah, I think he'll be denied bail because he's a flight risk. So you've got where's this guy?
Mary Dixon is going to get coffee and a cookie. I want a cookie. You like cookies, Hal?
Do I like cookies?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this, I'm on the fence. I like soft cookies. I'm not a crunchy cookie person unless I'm having a beverage, in which case a soft cookie is the worst possible situation. You want a turgid cookie in that situation. It's also a size aspect. Nothing's more depressing than a giant chocolate chip cookie and a small rimmed glass of milk.
Yeah.
Like, it feels bad breaking it. It's like being the first one to get in the peanut butter jar. You know what I mean? There's so much of that. That's just, it's a Libra thing, I guess. All right. Stuttering John wants me to come on at 1 o'clock. Thank you. Wants me to come on at 1 o'clock. I will tell him yes. I have lawn furniture to assemble, but I'll do it.
I have leaves to rake. You should see our yard. It's insane.
Has it? Have you gotten it?
Attention. Stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So I like, if you watched the live stream this week, we looked at Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert going down to the DC jail to look at some of the J6 insurrectionists who refuse to promise not to attack another federal building between now and court. And so they're the ones that are being kept. Many of these folks who Matt Gaetz and MTG and all these people have called political prisoners of the Biden regime, because nothing is more America first than using language that equates the American government with that of Duterte or Erdogan or Gaddafi or China. That it just reeks of America first. I mean, how do you not hum Lee Greenwood in between accusations like that? But in the meantime, obviously there are a couple of questions that come up that have to do with communications between members of Congress and some of the J6 insurrectionists, and the fact that some of those people who've been accused of that thing, not Louis Gohmert, because Louis Gohmert, as we all know, often is found walking around talking into the backside of his phone. And
Really?
I'm kidding, but he's one of those people who would there's no picture on this phone. And it's like, dude, that's the case. Turn it around. One of the single dumbest people in Congress, and which, of course, by the way, makes him perfect to be Texas AG. So, I mean, there's definitely a ladder to climb, Louis. Don't let me talk you.
Is he the one that asked those crazy questions about the environment?
Yes, he's the one who, while he was speaking, his tooth fell out. That's Louis. Singularly the dumbest questions ever. There are a lot of intentionally obfuscational false statements made to play dumb, like Tucker Carlson does, that the Matt Gaetzes and the Jim Jordans of the world kind of do, but they're rhetorical in nature, right? Rand Paul does it all the time. Just talk out of your backside, ask a dumb question that you think you know the answer to, which is also a dumb answer, and then scream at someone because they're not answering the question you asked in seriously. That's obviously a thing. But Louis Gohmert, when he asks those questions, everybody around him goes, he's not kidding.
Yeah.
He really...
He's not kidding.
He's not kidding at all. Yeah, he cheeked his tooth. That's right. They call him Louis the Cheek Gohmert in the chat because his tooth fell out and he just pocketed it right in the right cheek. He's so very stupid. But Marjorie Taylor Greene...
You know what? You got to hand it to him for figuring out a way on his feet what to do with that tooth.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you going to do? I mean, obviously, if you're a tough guy...
Chew and swallow? I don't know.
No, you want to save it later so somebody can glue it back in, clearly.
Right.
I would have spit it out, pretend it was food, and then went and picked it up later. Just let him post a picture of it. Just ding, you know what I mean? Try to hit a spittoon. Just be that tough. Anyway, so him showing up at the jail is no big deal. And as a matter of fact, there's a reason MTG took him as the sidecar and not somebody else, because he's too stupid to be involved in the January 6th thing. No, he's the Carter Page of Congress. No one would trust him enough to give him evidence, right? Just take this envelope to Russia, drop it off, and as long as you come back without the envelope and nobody else finds it, you'll get paid and you won't end up dead. Like that was the Carter Page mission. Same thing with Louis Gohmert. MTG, however, visiting these folks in jail might be witness tampering, because she's one of these people who is accused of giving tours or may have been texting with these people along with Boebert and others. And so the idea that she's going down to the jail to meet in person with these folks under the guise of they're being mistreated, whatever, is a bunch of hot garbage, and might eventually look like a coordinated effort in front of the January 6th committee and others to put pressure on these folks to, she's like, they're just pressuring them to get to me because I went and tried to help them at the jail, right? Not to mention getting your story straight. So, and I personally believe that if you're solitary confinement and prison food are one thing, but I think a visit from Marjorie Taylor Greene constitutes cruel and unusual punishment. And I think just by letting her in the jail, they have violated the Geneva Convention.
His constitutional rights, right away.
Yes, right. I would file a piece of paper of some sort with a drawing of her. Go, let me out. She might come back. So, but the stories that are happening right now are that a bunch of these low-level Jan 6ers, the ones who aren't, by the way, free to roam around to their heart's content, because they said, okay, I promise not to take a crap in a federal building between now and court next time. I can't say anything about when I'm actually in court, but between now and then, I promise, because I'll get thrown in jail. You promise? Yeah, sure. And then, like, even the people who have ankle monitors, one of the dudes who's in there right now that she visited, who's one of the most violent ones, he pepper sprayed a cop right in his face, not a bunch of people up on him, and that guy's going to jail for a long time. His buddy who was with him on the day, right next to him while all that happened, helping him push, helping him lift, helping him elbow past people, helping him punch, whatever the hell, that just didn't happen to fall in video, but the two of them made it together all the way, thick as thieves, all the way to the top of the Capitol steps. That guy is home. That guy has an ankle monitor on that doesn't say where he's going, just lets you know when he's leaving the house. That's it. It's like texting the family that you went to the grocery store. That's the level of confinement this idiot is experiencing. And so but his partner, the dude who there is video that his buddy proudly posted and that he himself went, look at me, on, and that the, grand juries for these indictments have seen, show him doing this stuff. And so, of course, he's not getting out of jail because he's a threat to the community. He's a threat to everybody around him. He's a QAnon nut. He's a danger to his fellow citizens because everybody who thinks he should go to jail for pepper spraying cops right in the eyeball is an enemy of the state to this guy. It's the same argument around, hate crimes. Hate crimes are effectively the citizen's version of a cop crime. If somebody kills a cop, they are way more likely to kill an average citizen because they're not afraid. If you're unafraid to kill a cop, you're definitely not going to worry about. If you did the math
and you're like, okay, I'm going to kill this guy, and it's a cop, then what's stopping you?
Everybody else is tangential bodies on the ground. It's collateral damage. And so, and the same thing with a hate crime. Killing one person because you don't like Gary is one thing, but killing Gary because you don't like his race, his religion, or his national origin, or his sexual orientation, or his sexual identity, that's a wholly different thing, because that trait applies to everybody else in that category. So you are intrinsically more of a danger to society than somebody who just didn't like Gary. And because, there's other guys like Gary, but the chance that you're at the same bar having the same conversation like that and that he slept with your wife is very slim. And if it isn't very slim, maybe you should talk to your wife or yourself. But the point I'm trying to make is these guys are all going down. Those indictments are now coming down. One guy was just indicted. They're getting small. Some of them are getting like 2 months and probation and now have a criminal record. Most of it's largely like high-level misdemeanors, where the judge is being lenient but hoping that they go back to becoming, functional members of society and don't join a militia group, which is part of their probation stuff. So that's, it's crucial. When we come back, one of the reasons why they're getting extra mad is the Durham probe, as much as he's trying to chuck indictments around to countermand this whole thing, is a huge flop. And apparently the Fox editorial board agrees with me. We'll be back.
What?
Yeah. I'll send you the, during the break.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Just moronic. All right. Yeah, this, hold on here. Where's this? Yeah, here it is. This is, on this one, point 2 in this editorial is the part they're going to have the hardest time with. And what I said,
I hate Fox News links. I'm sorry. I'm like,
yeah,
people are going to know I was here.
Triggered. The second one, the third one also is very disappointed. Is disappointing just on the final sentence. Like, he does the best he can do to like cradle this rock as it falls. You know what I mean? But he can't get under it entirely. He just can't. So the first couple, first.
Oh my! All right, I'm not going to spoil any of this, but holy crap!
Yeah,
what
and that's a Fox News editorial about the Durham probe and what's coming from it. Yeah. Your ponytail has some floof to it, and you have to, yes, it definitely has some floof. It's full on ponytail. This is like, I'm a show pony today.
When I was at the
I'm a pony.
gym yesterday,
I'm a pony. Don't you feel like a pony when you sweat? Like, anybody? Nutty Professor? No? All right.
When I was at the gym, I was flipping through different cable channels on my little stair stepper, and Fox News had a poll that said 1 in 4 Americans would rather text their ex than work out. And then I switched to MSNBC, and it was talking about vaccinations.
Right, of course. Yeah. What else are they going to talk about? I mean, yeah. So,
and I can just see my dad, like my dead 83-year-old dad, like looking at the TV going, I don't know. I'd definitely rather text my ex than work.
Depends on the ex. I'm just saying. Certainly a couple of exes that come to mind. No, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. They're exes for a reason. By the way, welcome to the show, especially the trolls that are joining us today. Bless you. Thank you for being here.
Hey.
You guys add to our numbers and spread us out across the interwebs in a way that our regular viewers don't. And so we all appreciate you here. And we love it when you swing for the fences and try desperately to make us...
Coming back in 20.
Thank you. You'll find this is an impervious chat. Sorry. It just doesn't land. I'm sorry. I know you want to live like it's 2009, but remember when trolls had power?
I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm going to have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And then a guitar note, and then progressive, and all that. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all that. Yeah, it's going to be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Megaworldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Wow. By the way, one of the best ways you can support the show is going to fwank.com, FWANQ.com. That's on Twitch, twitch.tv/HalSparks. That's where it'll take you. And you can subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on there, and you can help, especially if you have Amazon Prime and you never use it for anything other than speeding deliveries to your door. Apparently, It gives you a free subscription every month, and you can give it to us, and that would help the show. See, it's a win-win. Now, if you do watch the regular feed of the show when I'm on daily at 3 o'clock Pacific time, and I go through all the news as it's coming down, and I play back full segments of Fox News and other shows, not edited, not cut down, not sliced up to make my point. You hear me, Laura Ingraham? Using the entire context of what they post as exemplary of their ideas. One of the things that they hung on was this indictment, the first indictment that Durham put down about somebody lying to the FBI about who their employer was. Now, I'm here to tell you, by the way, that's not going to go anywhere. That the contemporaneous notes at the time by the FBI agent don't mention even a question being asked of the person as to who was employing them. They worked for the law firm, but not directly for the campaign. There's all kinds of wiggle room. Sorry, welcome to our side of the circumstance where I've had to, give bad news to liberals and progressives about why certain people haven't been indicted because of plausible deniability. And in the case of Trump in general, like plausible idiocy. I mean, that genuinely is going to be his escape plan for the entirety of the Jan 6 thing, because even the Georgia thing, because he's going to say he thought there really were 100,000 votes that were his. And when he said, just find me 17,821, all I was saying was, you don't have to find all the votes I believe exist. I wasn't trying to manipulate him. Believe me, that's the plan. That's how it's going to come down. The only way that the Georgia DA is going to be able to bust him for this is if they find and get communications between him and others that show that he did not actually believe it at the time, or that he was being manipulated by other people who didn't, and therefore it was BS. Or that he did not, he was told by the Secretary of State this was not true, and, he was weighing, in good faith, Rudy Giuliani's assertions over the Republican, Attorney General of, and Secretary of State and Governor of Georgia. So, but the big thing is Durham's going to ride into the rescue. Where's Durham? The whole thing, where's Hunter turned into where's Durham near the end after the election when it just didn't do any good and it was just a big boohoo fest. What's this Durham thing? And he finally drops some indictments. All of them, basically him breaking wind in a paper bag and popping it is the effect that it will have, in terms of legal precedent. And I'm not the only one that thinks so. When this came out, I said that even though he's going after the three indictments he's put out, none of them go after the substance of the Steele dossier. They simply attempt to impeach the sources of the Steele dossier and thereby trying to create a fruit of the idiot tree that he can have some sort of escape plan on. The idea is that if he can, if those guys were lying about working with the Clinton campaign, then they must have been lying about the content of the thing. Instead of going, they worked for the Clinton campaign, and one of the reasons they worked for the Clinton campaign was because even though politically they might even lean Republican, they viewed Donald Trump as a threat because of the evidence they'd seen against him. Much like anybody, it seems, in the Justice Department, from Jeff Sessions on, including Chris Christie, it seems, and we'll get to that in a little bit, that the easiest path to becoming biased against Donald Trump, apparently, is to see the evidence against him. Apparently, it is, there's enough of it floating around where people go, oh yeah, I can't, I'm out in regular order. So, there is an op-ed on Fox News' site that finally, begrudgingly, makes all the points I have been making for months about what Durham has been trying to do and failing miserably at. Primarily, there's three key points in this editorial. First one, Durham has not charged that there was an overarching conspiracy to defraud the federal court motivated by a desire to portray Trump as a clandestine agent of Russia. That would be the, oh my God, the Russian collusion thing is a hoax. Da, 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 da. Durham's not charging that. He can't charge that because he can't prove that. He has no evidence himself to countermand that argument, because there's a lot of evidence that there was communication. There's a lot of evidence that they were carrying water for him and that they were tacitly protecting him. And basically it was one of these, when a candidate, remember those weird videos of Ted Cruz smiling, hugging his family and with his brother, or those weird Mitch McConnell shots from a while ago? Remember that stuff? And
like is that those videos of that sound that they would just put out for people to make like the super PACs to use?
Yes. And that's exactly it. They cannot give that footage to a super PAC, but they can post it online free of charge on it's not a private video. Everybody like who posts YouTube videos, there's like public, private, and unlisted. They put it up as an unlisted video, meaning you really only find it if you stumble across it or you know what the search term they put in the tags on it is. Like you make a specific one that's wink, winky, wink, wink, and you've agreed to this a long time ago before the campaign, right? And then what they do is basically whenever they know you've been filming, which they of course know because it's silly. They post that video and then they do a search for that search term and it only comes up for that video because it's a long string. It's like a password almost. And then they download it and then the campaign takes the video down. They just remove it or delist it. They make it private. Well, that is obviously getting around the super PAC law. That is obviously coordinating with a super PAC under the table. It's a scheme that the Republicans used, ham-handedly, but largely getting away with it. And that's effectively, they learned it effectively from Trump in some ways, because that's the Russia-Trump connection. How do you do it, through material, like you hand deliver the password, so it's never written down digitally. And then you post the thing and pretend I didn't think anybody was going to see that kind of stuff. And that's also how Russia warns you that they got you as well. They post something in a digital form that's only followable by a certain link, and then somebody hand walks the link in, and somebody has to type it in by hand. And then they go, oh crap, pee-pee tape. And then they and then it's hidden again, right? And then they take the video down so nobody else can have it. They still have compromise on you, right? So that's how it's been working. It's how it's worked. Trump has just outlived his usefulness, and Putin has his own problems because Biden got us out of Russia, and because of their connection to Uzbekistan and how ISIS-K and many people in the Taliban still feel about Russia, they have enough problems right now. The same thing with China and ISIS-K and the Uyghur connection. It's a mess for them right now. But okay, so the second point was, and this is the point I was making as we talked about any of the Durham indictments that were coming down. The two defendants recently indicted, Sussman and Danchenko, are not accused of lying about the substance. And this dude puts it in italics so that he's drawing attention to this because he's trying to let Trumpers down easy. He's trying to land this plane because they want to crash it into the earth, right? About the substance of the sensational Steele dossier allegations. To the contrary, they are merely accused of lying about their sources, who they were and where they were coming from. Many out of distrust because Trump was now in charge of the DOJ and there was a concern that he was seeding people into the FBI, and so they were worried about saying where it came from at the time. That would be a singular argument why these guys would totally get away with saying this. Sussman, a former government cybersecurity lawyer, is said to have misled the FBI by insisting that he did not represent any client and claiming that Trump was using a Russian financial institution, Alpha Bank, to conceal communications with the Kremlin, which is true because he's not lying about that. Because in the same way that Steele, after he went to the Hillary Clinton campaign with his findings and all this stuff after the Washington Free Beacon had bought it and didn't want to do it because they were now backing Trump, He's like, but this is a crime. He took it to the Clinton campaign. They went, this is too dirty for us to use. We think we're going to win anyways. So he took it to John McCain and the FBI going, you don't understand. There's a chance this guy could win. And he's a puppet for these psychopaths who snuff people in parks in Berlin. We're weeks, months away from this happening here. So that's why he went there. So the third one is, and then we got to take a break. And oh boy, this one's the best part. He has a whole paragraph on this one where he's just trying to cradle Mike Pillow's head as it hits the cement. You know what I mean? Like there's no way to stop it from hitting the cement, but he can surround it in as much puffery as he can. The charges against Sussman and Danchenko do not rise or fall on whether the Steele dossier is complete fiction or the God's honest truth. It is irrelevant, which is also like him trying to, they're not saying that, and this doesn't disprove it, and don't worry, that's not what this is about, and Durham knows it. Now, undoubtedly, Durham has concluded the dossier is nonsense. No, not undoubtedly. That's his assertion. He's trying, again, this is a Fox News editorial. All of the people who once touted appear desperate to distance themselves from it. Yeah, I don't. No. And I think they've moved on just because because January 6th is a bigger problem than the Steele dossier. PP tape is the least of our problems at this point. And Steele himself described it as raw intelligence that needed to be investigated. Right. He always did. He didn't say it later. That's always what it was. But that said, and this is the one that gets him. But that said, Durham has not formally alleged that the dossier is false. That's the last sentence in that third section where he desperately tries. He's trying to let you guys down easy. He's trying to tell you that Durham is not disproving that this is, Sean Hannity ran graphics all week. Every time Durham busts somebody, it's all about how the dossier is false and Durham is proving it, and that's what this proves. No, he isn't. And he has no ability to. Sorry. But that's what they have to say, because if any of it's true, all of it's true as far as their mythology around Donald Trump. Because they have to make him a deity at this point so that they can make him a martyr later, because the man is a mess. Yep. And that's the biggest albatross around the Republican neck going into 2022. Don't believe the hype about current poll numbers for Biden or any of that stuff. It's not going to wash next year. It simply isn't. It's an opportunistic thing. The problem they have to face is that week by week, month by month, Trump is becoming more of a problem for them. And there are now Republicans writing books about what do we do to get this guy away from us. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We're here every Saturday. You can join us on the radio or at infotainmentwars.com. Albatross. 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 You got any chalk ices? No, I haven't got any bleeding chalk ices. I got the albatross. What flavor is it? What flavor? Oh, it's bloody seabird, isn't it? It's bloody albatross
totally
flavor.
Forgot about that.
Oh, this editorial just gets more brutal with towards their belief system about this with every chapter. He numbers them, in a way that it's just depressing for them. I think it's hilarious because we all know there's obviously a there. There's obviously a lot of stuff that's been going on. Trump's been mobbed up forever. Rudy Giuliani cleared the Italian mob out so that the Chinese and the Russians could move in. That's the purpose he served.
That's what that was?
Yes. That's what happened. Was there the Russian mob was running a gambling, prostitution, and money laundering ring out of Trump Tower. Nobody even argues it. I posted the stories Before Trump even ran, that was a thing. But he can grope his daughter and women randomly. He can cheat on his taxes and steal, get a $72 million tax refund he didn't earn, and then when they find out, he can fight the IRS to not have to give it back and call it an audit. Thank you.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I thought there was going to be like a new one every break. I was so excited.
You want more, Hal? We'll give you more. Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. Hoo-yah!
I have to say, is it wrong that punching sound effect made me want to remind everybody that the director's cut of Rocky IV is out, and I will be watching it.
What's different about the director's cut?
He just went through it and redid the sound and some of the fights and tightened up some of the shots and
okay.
Just basically
it's like a remaster.
Yeah, it's like a remaster, and I'm for it, and I love that movie. It's basically a series of music videos and fight scenes, and what could be better?
That's the chicken montage, right?
No. That's 3. Or
you're
2.
Right. That is 3.
2 is the chicken. That's 2 is the that's Mickey telling him that let's see. Where is it?
I think 3 is the chicken.
Kentucky Fried Idiot.
Right. That's the where he chases the chicken around.
I feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot.
Right. That's the again, some solid writing from Sly on that one. Remember, he wrote those movies. He didn't just star in them. He made you think he was dumb because he's actually a good actor. All right. So the fourth part of this, there's 2 more pieces to this Fox News editorial that again is gotta be such a drag. I mean, there's no way this guy's getting on any Hannity or Tucker segments anytime soon. But the fourth one says, even Durham's first indictment months ago against FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith, he did not allege that the dossier was false. Rather, he accused Kleinsmith of withholding a piece of information that was true, namely that Trump campaign advisor Carter Page had been an informant for the CIA. Which, by the way, that's why the CIA is doing all these advertisements. Like, please join the CIA. Please, we need diversity. We need other people. We just can't Peter Principle moronic white guys in here anymore. We got to have a broader swath of people. And then 5, finally, this is, oh God, poor people. All 3 of the false indictments Durham has filed so far proceed on the theory that, quote, the FBI was duped, not that the Bureau intentionally lied to the court. Even the FBI's Kleinsmith was accused of lying to an FBI agent, not to a federal judge. If Durham were building toward an overarching indictment alleging a corrupt conspiracy between the Clinton campaign and the FBI to deceive the court, he would not be charging people with lying to the FBI. This is and again, even that lie about Carter Page, which, by the way, the primary one wasn't that he was a CIA informant, but that he was known to have carried documents essentially for the government before, which would lower the chance they would extend his FISA warrant, not raise the chance that they would do it. It was actually that lie from Kevin Kleinsmith was to benefit Carter Page. That was to get people off of Carter Page's back. That the fact that they extended it was because, have you seen this idiot on Chris Hayes' show? There is no way. He's a twitchy mess. He's lying out his backside. This is garbage.
That's so amazing. I remember Eyebrowgate with him.
Oh, good Lord. I mean, I've never seen anybody hit on Chris Hayes that hard. I swear to God.
His tells were ridiculous.
Yeah, Chris Hayes' wife got pregnant for the second time just from that interview, just from the eyebrow movement. That was amazing. Yes, Carter Page is a liar and a moron, and his entire job was to carry paper for the Trump campaign. Fly to Russia, where we know you have connections. Meet with he met Sergei Lavrov at the RNC. He's a courier. He's a paper courier. The only reason they're like, well, there aren't any emails pointing to that's because nobody in their right mind is stupid enough to email Carter Page anything. Are you kidding me? Would you, all right, you have to use Carter Page to convey a secret. Do you text him? Or do you go, this idiot will leave his phone on the train? Or do you give him a piece of rice paper
or like
with
one of those like foldy things? Like
that's right.
Carter, pick a color.
Yeah, it's a cootie catcher. You use a cootie catcher. Yeah. Now eat this when you're done, Carter. Why is he stuffing it up his backside?
And then he just eats it right away.
He rates it. Yeah, wait till we got to do another one. So that whole segment, that's about trying to bring, there's a movement, Liz Cheney and Kitzinger are out on the forefront of this, obviously. But there is a movement within the Republican Party to slowly, switch this, the golden idol for the bag of sand without triggering the darts from the walls. This is their Indiana Jones moment, and they are failing miserably. They're doing, ultimately, like they're going to fare about as well as Tepito, the guy who was helping him, helping Indiana Jones, if you'll recall. Throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip. Like, right. So doesn't work out. Yeah. So these guys are trying desperately to try and right this ship while putting on a brave face, while decrying it's a terrible inflation in the United States is terrible. Well, guess what? It's terrible everywhere. And everywhere else, there are no rising wages to correspond. Now, is current inflation because of supply issues outpacing or oil and gas because China is buying up everything? This is an open market, kids. Energy's an open market. I thought Republicans were free market capitalists, or at least fair market capitalists. I guess that's the bend, right, between the two. So, but at some point, they seem to think that Canadian shale oil is American. I've yet to figure that out. That Canadian companies should be able to put pipelines across U.S. territory when they're simply just bringing their oil to market. They're not giving it to us.
Like this little piggy.
Yeah, like we're putting a tap on it, like getting maple syrup out of a tree in an old Warner Brothers cartoon or something. Yeah, they just run their thing through, and the Canadians are really good, so we just stick a tap on there, and you can just fill your car up. It's nonsense. And so defending Canadian shale oil, and then of course saying somehow that Exxon, Chevron, Shell, the American companies that produce oil not just here but all over the world, somehow owe it to the American public to charge less for a commodity that everyone in Europe is using hand over fist right now as everybody tries to get their economy back. We're using it. South America's using it. Europe's using it. Like Russia has turned off one of their primary natural gas spigots to Europe because they need it. But are you hearing that conversation on the news when we talk about gas prices in this country? Are you? No, you're hearing it talk about it as if Jimmy Carter is arguing with OPEC in 1977.
Right. It's all just Brandon's
and that
fault.
COVID never happened. And like, right? Like let's just pretend that whole thing. We had a surplus. No, we didn't. We weren't going anywhere. And all of the price things, please, we do this on my show all the time, but whenever someone gives you a percentage, and not the actual number, the mean number, they're telling you a narrative. And if they give you the mean number without giving you the percentage, they're also telling you a story. This is up 300%. Okay, what does that mean? It means one person kind of did it, now 4 people are doing it. That's what they mean. If you hear that, then you're like, well, then why are you telling me 300%? That sounds extraordinary and outlandish and like it's overwhelming and the most important thing in the world. And it clearly is not. Statistically, it has no meaning in my life whatsoever. Meanwhile, if what you're going to be hearing, and this is, keep an ear out for this, kids, over the next couple of weeks especially, year over year or year to date, up some percentage. Because last year, everything cratered. So compared to 2019, are we up? Yeah. But a measurable amount that you would consider after we've been through a pandemic. But compared to last year, when no one was going anywhere and businesses were shuttering all over the place, of course prices are up compensatory to that. As are wages because people were broke. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Christie is gunning for Trump, and he may be the first out of the gate, but he's not going to be the last. This is the real 2024 race. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, the idiocy of this whole like financial argument in this stuff. So whoops, I typed in the wrong thing. I hate that. I often do. I have one keyboard on two computers, and so I have to switch the switch on it. Yeah. Versus, yeah, here it is. Versus 2019. Yeah. Gas prices on average still below what they were in 2014. Way below their peak in 2008 when everything, and then it crashed. It was right at the top. It was on its way up, and then it ate crap because of the recession. $4.11 across the country. And even still, we're at $3.38 as of October. Yeah. And then, let's see. Allow. Yeah. This guy. There you go, kids. Sorry, Johnny. I'm putting this right in front of you.
Yeah.
Retail. I'll put it right, let's see, down in the corner. This is a chart from the U.S. all grades, all formulations, retail gas prices. We're definitely going up in the last little bit, but we also cratered. So if you compare the gas today versus what it was in 2020 when everything went down, and it's slowly been arcing its way back up as people went back to work.
Right.
Then in the same way in what's this guy? In 2009, it went up, 50, 60 cents, no more than that. 80 cents in under a year, a gallon. Because
that was Obama's fault.
Yeah, right. Even though it went down $2 and change because of the crash. So compared to the entirety of the Obama years, even with the recession, gas prices never got up to where they were under Bush at $4.01 June of 2008. $4.10. And so if you're doing end over end, the low point was $1.93 last year. That's what they were using. And $1.872 in February of 2016, which is before Trump took office. Which it climbed, then it went down because of the fight over Russia and them, and then, yeah. So if you look at these drops, is gas up? Yeah. Compared to 2019, not really. and certainly a measurable amount that makes sense based on the fact that these businesses all lost money, that people are using gas again, that a lot of it's been sitting idle, that they had boats sitting around where oil wasn't even processed. And if considering the worth of the dollar, 2016, or 2008 prices, it was actually higher compared to what, the dollar's worth now versus 2008. Let's see. I'm going to send Johnny that chart. Always got to do this thingy. Hold on.
Do the thingy.
Gas was $1.98 per gallon in 2019, and that's a fact. $1.98 in 2019. Hold on. At its lowest, that was the lowest it got. Hold on. Wait. No, wait. 2019, it got down to $2.30. The average. This is talking about the national average. The lowest it got in 2019 was February of 2019. It was $2.33
Coming back in 20 seconds.
Thanks. By May, it was almost $3. It was $2.94. Which, of course, is right before summer break. 35 cents in 1969. Thanks for bringing it up. It also was full of lead.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So we were just talking during the break that, when you're looking at, comparison, when you look at the conversation that's being had about oil and gas prices, when you're looking at the conversation about inflation around consumer goods, one of the reasons why everybody's getting away with sort of clickbait doom and gloom is it's twofold. One is they're going by last year's numbers when nothing was happening. Businesses were closed. If you're looking at like right, and the idea that they're somehow decrying the price of beef right now when Trump sold China the largest order of beef in American history after he had started believing apparently that they hit us with a bioweapon. This is his belief system. So, yeah, again, I guess we owe Chamberlain's family an apology. Is that what's happening? Largest order of beef in American history to the Chinese, while Americans were in bread lines, were in food lines. In June, remember those long car roads where people were getting bags of groceries because nobody had a job and a lot of the UI hadn't kicked in a lot of places yet, or in Republican states especially, they make it extra hard because they figure if they make it too easy, you'll be lazy instead of just making it too big a deal and driving people into harsher poverty, driving crime rates up because you're like, what's easier, selling drugs or filling out an unemployment form? Like at a certain point. But so one of the cases that they make is that gas is way up. Gas per gallon, oh my God, it's way up. And it's up. It definitely is up. But it's up in a mitigatory fashion if you erase the COVID drop. If you and again, this goes to the number versus the percentage. Whenever someone in the news is going 500%, there's been 1,000%, and it's especially when it's in a headline, then go, all right, what's the actual number? And if they give you a single number, then percentage-wise, what is that? Because it might seem big. 10,000 people have been charged with a certain kind of crime. And you're like, in a country of 340 million people, that's not surprising. In a county of 12,000 might be a big deal. So I kind of need to know. And that's why, many people will know that Trump famously shunned the concept of per capita because he likes it when it works in his favor and doesn't.
And you know, when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what?
There's so many per capita.
There's so many per capitas. There's a lot of per capitas. There's like MAGA capitas, which is the one that matters, and nobody else does. So one of the things that you're seeing a bunch of this stuff is that, the height of the price, May 2019, right before summer, which is, what you judge usually the peak is May, because the gas companies know everybody's going to be traveling. You're going to drive further. The family's going to pile everybody in the SUV and drive or rent an RV and drive to see family for the summer or go on a trip. So they jack up the price, and it's their Black Friday. Summer is the gas companies, time to make hay. And so that's what they do. So all summer long, you'll see it. But May is the spike one because they've just gotten out of school, and that's when most people will take the driving trip immediately. Go drive and see family, right? Take kids to camp. Stuff that requires a longer drive. And so you can milk them for it. And if you look at the chart, it will always say it. May is always the spike point. So May in 2019, gas was $2.94 a gallon. $3, right? It is up 40 cents on average since then. Okay? It is up 40 cents since the May price of 2019. It is technically, if you want to go for it, it's down 30 cents from June of 2014. It's down 25 cents from March of 2013. It's down 60 cents from April of 2012. Gas, you'll be happy to know, is down almost $1 from July 2008. Now, what do all those dates have in common, though? One is they weren't last year. They were the year before last year. And there was not, in any of those cases, a worldwide pandemic the year previous. Hear me now. Understand what I'm saying to you. Gas and fuel prices in those years were significantly higher than they are right now, and there wasn't even a pandemic. Now, in the case of 2008,
not even a pandemic.
No, in the case of 2008 and the crash, that happened right after gas prices were at their worst and on their way up. In many ways, that reset the growth cycle of fuel costs for a period of time. And the Obama administration set a policy basically to keep it below $4, and damn, did they not manage to do it. It bumped right along. It just needled right up there, but never crested over that in the average. And some people are calling out the $7 a gallon in California. That station that everybody talks about in the news, where it's $7.70. Do you know how much gas was at that station in 2008? It was $11.60 a gallon. 11. That's what happens when you fill your tank in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, fill my tank, or 3 miles from here, get abducted by hillbillies and get used as a genetic experiment to decouple the rings in their family tree. So, yes, is gas up from last year? Yeah. But it's down from, 8 years previous, and 10 years previous, and 6 years previous, and 5 years previous. This is crucial to the conversation. It is unfair to the consumer and the average American citizen listening to not speak to them like adults about this kind of stuff, especially since last year people lost their entire life savings, their businesses, when like the biggest government intervention in 100 years had to happen simply because it was that bad. And now they're like, well, it's, this is policy in the last 6 months. It's nonsense. Gas prices are high, but they've been high before, and not because we just came out of a recession. And these oil companies, I don't know why everybody is talking about them like they are public citizens. That's the part that boggles my mind. You know, while accusing the left of wanting to nationalize oil like Venezuela, the right wing says this all the time, apparently they are all in on the concept that there's such a thing as American oil. There ain't.
Yeah. That drives me bonkers.
Yeah. And the Canadian shale oil that would have come through our country and gone all the way to the Gulf of Mexico using the Keystone pipeline, and or the one that currently uses the Line 5 pipeline that the Republicans are talking about, that goes through Michigan and has flooded 1.1 million gallons of oil into the Kalamazoo River in one of its major spills and constantly leaks into Lake Michigan. That's not American oil. That's not American energy. It's Canadian shale oil. It's the crappiest, most hard to filter version of oil that you can get.
Worst
and it's
tasting,
not ours.
if you ask me. It's got this, once you get maple
it's got
anywhere.
It's got stevia, you can tell.
Yeah,
but the point I'm trying to make
never
is
goes away. Like I wash my hands, rinse my face, and there's still just
you can
maple.
always smell it. It's like walking by Steve Bannon. The smell stays with you for a week. I kind of hijacked this segment, in talking about this, but it's really about the conversation in the news. This is really not about there are things that can be done about consumer prices and buying stuff and there are things that can't. And when it's U.S. policy that's causing some of these problems, then we as citizens should be up in arms about it and should be dealing with it as such. That seems logical. But when it is a worldwide problem, this idea that we should be on some sort of privileged, excised island from the rest of the world, like Elysium or some nonsense, and that the fact that there is a worldwide energy crunch and a supply chain issue that is worldwide should not bother, apply to us, is insanity. And it's an embarrassing part of the conversation. I know why Fox is doing it. I don't know why everyone else is doing it. That's rough. That's confusing. Now, when we come back, what I originally wanted to talk about is the fact that Christie is writing a book that's coming out Monday, I guess. He wrote a book that's coming out Monday, and that is basically he's putting an oar in the water to get the party away from Trump. Not a heavy effort, but he does sort of call him nuts in the process. We'll be back. Look, the part that I have is nobody has to like consumer prices going up or the availability of stuff going up, but talking about it like there's some sort of magic cure in the one instance, or pretending we didn't just go through COVID is the embarrassing part. And then the news not talking about the fact that it is a worldwide issue, and it is one of the primary reasons besides climate change that we're moving away from fossil fuels. This is another reason why we need to get away from fossil fuels. It used to be the main one. Iraq, Afghanistan, no blood for oil. Remember that stuff? Remember when we used to give a shit about that?
Yeah.
I'm in break, so I can swear. Now people have just kind of forgotten that. No, Elysium is that movie with Matt Damon and Jodie Foster where the rich people live in the big halo donut off the earth and all the remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was. I use that as a reference a lot, even though it's not the. I should try find a sci-fi reference.
It's pop culture, but
it's a little it's fringy. Yeah, in the sky, low Earth orbit, right?
Coming back in 20.
Thank you. I just caught myself about to accidentally to walk into a double entendre break.
Attention. Stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, obviously, and I caught myself, but this Christie has been making the rounds lately, and on the news, and it's weird when he pops up occasionally, and you're like, why? What has he ever offered to the conversation other than being sort of like Ted Cruz and these other folks who just fall in line behind Trump? They spend a ton of time. Donald, you're a coward, and you can't talk that way about Heidi. Unless you love me. Love me. Sorry, Heidi. That for whatever, like theirs was a master class in just sycophantic cowardice. I mean, it was shocking. If not surprising, I suppose, to watch these guys do this. I think a lot of people were just gobsmacked about the idea, like, how do these guys live with themselves? How do you go home? How do you say something like, let that dude talk that way about your wife, and then challenge him basically while you're, still running your campaign? He's a coward, now tell him to his face, and then just literally become his, testicle cradler for the next, 4 years, just unabashedly. Can't throw yourself on enough grenades for the dude. Just offering to dive in front of the bus. It'd be one thing if you kind of pulled a Mitt Romney, which is like, maybe if I get in the cabinet, I can do some good and push back on his nonsense. Oh, it was just a lie. All right, well, I'm going to ignore him. I'll vote with him when he does sort of run-of-the-mill Republican stuff, like certain judges and that kind of thing. But I'll vote against him if he does anything egregious. But most of the time, I'll soldier and keep my mouth shut. There were a bunch of those people, vast majority of them. It's why you only know the names, unless somebody, really digs down, of about 9 Republican senators, right? The rest of them are like, oh boy, right? Just pretending they're not complicit while voting along party lines, right? But Christie has a book coming out, and it's got one of these like big convoluted titles, Republican Rescue: How We Can Reclaim America and the Voice of Freedom and whatever. Who cares? The main point of it, though, is that they have to put Trump in the rearview mirror if they're gonna do anything. They have to, and somebody was eventually gonna get to it, but a lot of people were going, is it going to take 10 years? Is Trump going to have to pass away before it happens? Is he going to have to do a giant something that gets himself, besides getting booed for suggesting vaccines, he's going to have to jump some kind of Trump shark to get there, right?
So the question is him to pass away.
Well, we all do. We'll all get there, and we wish it on no one, and especially those among us who we know are awful and miserable. Trump's lawyers filed, an injunction to stop the documents from coming out from the National Archives about his communications leading up to January 6th, calling the charges, among other things, the request for documents, among other things, vexatious. Which we were all happy to look up online live as the statement came out, which of course means annoying and worrisome. And that's exactly what it is. It scares the crap out of them. So as long as someone who is awful and is going to be around, I would like for them to be annoyed every morning. I don't wish illness and death on anyone, but I do wish constant and never-ending agitation, an itch they can never scratch, and the kind of anybody who's gone through a bill collector phase in their life, or maybe in one now, you know that thing when your phone rings and you do that, and you're like, oh God, right? I wish that, I mean, and he lives there. I mean, he's probably comfortable with that one.
As you're trying to get to sleep, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, on and on and on. Again, I don't wish him ill or some lightning bolt from out of nowhere. I just want him. I wish upon him sort of a telltale heart moment, that he is haunted by his own conscience and the fear that he will finally get what's coming to him. That's it. And because this will fade. He's not running in 2024. Get used to the idea. And that's why this has started. So the main gist of what Christie's been talking about is that he's saying that Trump and everybody else needs to move on from 2020, put it in the taillights, admit that it's a nuts conspiracy. That's his word. And that Trump believes these things along with these other people. So, AKA cogito ergo sum, both nuts. Trump nuts. That sounds bad. Christie told CNN that Trump must tell the truth, quote, if he wants to be a positive force in the midterms. He does not. That's the thing. Christie wants to be a positive force in the midterms. Trump is not going to be a positive force in the midterms. Trump is going to be mad that other people are running for election and might get elected, and he ain't. So he's going to, everywhere you drag him, ask Youngkin. That's why Youngkin didn't want him at a rally with him, because he would have just gone up there and scared people off of voting. Youngkin squeaked by trying to get the maggots that still vote to come out and do it, and he managed to. And it worked. And everybody else is looking at the Youngkin win. As much as Trump wants to claim it, Trump distanced himself. We showed the Judge Jeanine interview that he did, where, he's like, well, it might be in the good column, the win column, or the lose column. We'll see, or whatever. He's like, yeah, I endorse him because he's the Republican and we don't like McAuliffe, but we'll see if I want to add that to my list. And that's not an endorsement. An endorsement is, I don't care if he wins or loses. That's the guy. That's what an endorsement is. Picking winners is not an endorsement. That's what Trump is doing. I think this guy can win is not an endorsement. It never is. It's like when Trump says, I'd like to thank veterans. We'll do it. I'd like to thank, as the lead-in for those kind of sentences, is self-congratulatory. He does it all the time. The same thing is true about him picking winners. He's not endorsing these people. He's just saying, I think I want to be on their side if they won. That's it. Because he feels like a loser. And he will for a very long time. Christie has broken with Trump in the past, saying last September that Trump should accept defeat. Which, by the way, also, Trump has. He makes a lot of noise and bluster about this. I've done his rallies on the other show. Look at him when he say we really won. His face twist, the way he kind of is dejected. People are cheering for him. He's never been more miserable, which is why I support Trump doing more rallies. He should do more of them, and he should start charging admission, because that's the only way he's going to be able to get money into that account at some point. But this is, Chris Christie wants Trump to admit defeat publicly. Trump has already conceded that he lost. He just doesn't do it publicly because he's easily embarrassed. He has no shame, but he's easily embarrassed, which is why he talks about the Afghan withdrawal, not based on its geopolitical importance, but because it's the most embarrassing thing in American history. He keeps saying embarrassment because that's the only emotion he can relate to, and therefore he thinks that's other people's Achilles heel. You know what I mean? Like you think your weakness is other people's weakness. If you're not smart enough to adapt to your opponent or whoever you're up against and what their true weakness is. And by the way, the only reason he bested Chris Christie and the others in the Republican primary in 2016 was because their weakness is his weakness. He was running against a bunch of easily embarrassed but shameless narcissistic wannabes. From the Chris Christies of the world to Santorum to Jeb Bush to Ted Cruz especially. Right. all of those guys are easily embarrassed, but shameless. All of them feel like losers all the time, and they're trying to take it out on the world. That's what the posturing's about. And so Trump lives life like he's posturing. And then the exact, yes, with Jeb Bush, please clap. Right? That's embarrassing. That's what killed him. That was the moment that he lost, because embarrassment is the, like, I think Democrats in many ways recognize shame and sometimes overwhelm people with it. We weaponize shame against our own and against other people. That's what effectively, at its exaggerated point, what the whole cancel culture concept is about. That's weaponizing shame, right? That's the point of it. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of what you're saying. And if you're not ashamed of yourself, we're ashamed that you're here. And you shouldn't be allowed here because it's a shame. Like, that's really it. Not, he said something embarrassing and we're all feeling embarrassed, so could you please leave? This is embarrassing, like we're all at a cocktail party and your pants fell down. It's a difference in emotion and a depth to it. Both sides live in an overreach and a lot at their extremes, but when it comes to the embarrassment stuff, they will do shameless things as long as they don't get embarrassed, as long as they're seen as winning. And again, this is why a lot of people support, Trump. He's the pit bull that maybe shakes the baby, but as long as he bites the people I want him to bite, I can put up with that. So that's, and it won't matter. This is Chris Christie and everybody else recognizing that the infrastructure bill passed. The Build Back Better bill may or may not pass in some form or another over the next couple of weeks, or may get punted till next spring because of inflation concerns, and then get passed then, by the way, and start going into effect and help people out over the summer and into the school year, and then the election comes back. The timing could even be better in the spring, is a genuinely arguable point, which would be even worse for Republicans. But Chris Christie and them know that there's going to be a lot of shovels in the ground over the next year, and a lot of union jobs and a lot of good jobs, and the tangential jobs that they, add to over the next year, they're going to have to run on something else. They're not going to be able to run on Trump's record as of February. It won't work. And that's the scary part. We got to take a break. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In an interview with CNN this week, Christie said he thought Trump could be a very positive force for Republican candidates.
What?
In 2022. If he would start talking about the future and tell the truth about the election and move on. In other words, if he was not Trump.
Yeah, if he didn't behave like Trump at all, he could be good.
Yes, if he was a wholly different human being. If Trump was me, right? If I was Trump, yeah. In September, also, Christie asked Republicans to, quote, face the realities of 2020 election and learn, not hide from them. Yeah, the problem is that now that Biden's in office, as uncomfortable as the Afghan exit was, we're out. As much hay was made for about 6 weeks about the infrastructure bill, you think anybody's going to talk about what a Gordian knot people tied themselves in to get that passed when they passed a bipartisan one last year? No. Yes, Bannon getting indicted is a very good sign. Let's see. Oh, it's holy other device. We lost Johnny. He'll be back in a moment. Can Bannon do his show from his cell? Oh yeah, they're gonna hose him down like Rambo. Whoa, I didn't see that. Hold on. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for the super chat at the top of the show, it zipped by. Oh my goodness. Kimber, thank you so much. And Hal Vickery, thank you too. And Benny Loco, bless you. Kimber, that's very sweet. But I was so busy trying to get Johnny online that I missed it. So thank you. By the way, guys, don't worry about any of the trolling about Trump in there. Remember, the more they post in here, as long as they're not posting hate speech or something like that, and we have to bounce them for that reason, it just increases the algorithm and tells the advertisers, wow, this guy's engaging. So,
coming back in 20.
Thanks.
I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note. And then with progressive. And all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note. And then with progressive. And all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
So, before we continue on the show, I do want to say that we have a beautiful and enduring chat room on the show that I'm very proud of. And it's been growing like crazy. And largely, often thanks to the trolls that join us. Because, again, the algorithm doesn't care whether you like me or hate me. It just wants you here. Advertisers don't care if you're angry or happy when you see a toilet paper ad, just that you see it. And so we appreciate our trolls, but even more, we appreciate the regulars who've been with us. When I started the live stream regularly at the beginning of the pandemic, daily, just to kind of, like as an exercise in mental health, as we all kind of shake off the fear and anger and concern and all the stuff and the mixed messages that were coming, and deal with it, recognizing that we will all soldier on throughout this. And we've lost a few people along the way. Our dear friend Billy, who we lost early this year, and then we just lost another one. Krista Bennett was a regular in the chat room, and she passed away this week. And so to her family and all that love her, thank you for letting her spend time with us every Saturday. And in her, and to honor her and the others who have been in our chat from the beginning, from even back in the Ustream days in some ways, that have been around and come and gone. We will continue to soldier on optimistically, head held high, smiling into the sun, and keep bringing a show that would make them proud. Because the fact that people spent, when people lose their battle with time, as we all will, it makes it all the more precious and important that they spent some of it with you. And so it is crucial for me that I continue to make the time that you spend with me and that Johnny and I spend with you guys fun and informative and a joy to be around. Yeah. So thank you for, I recognize time is the only commodity you can never get more of. And so I want you to know I recognize the precious nature of it. So Krista and her family and everybody, we love you, and we're very sorry. So on that note, I will move on from that so that we will continue to play this up, because we do definitely have some crucial aspects of the news, not the least of which is, of course, we are in the era of what really happens. Yes, during the Trump years, that the books are going to start coming out. It used to be that, all the President's Men books started, it took a little longer for those things to come out. The stuff about Iran-Contra took a long time and then kind of squeaked by without anybody paying much attention, right? Meanwhile,
and people are going back now and checking out the books that came out during his presidency too, and going, oh yeah, that really did happen.
There it is. Yeah. So right now, Jonathan Karl, and let me hold this for a second, has got a book called Betrayal: The Final Act of the Trump Show, which is coming out this week or whatever. And there was a piece of the interview that came out, I'm going to play right now, that is about him asking Trump about the hang Mike Pence remark.
Were you worried about him during that siege? Were you worried about his safety?
No, I thought he was well protected, and I had heard that he was in good shape. Mm-hmm. No, because I had heard he was in very good shape. But no.
You heard those chants. That was terrible. He was,
he could have. Well, the people were very angry.
They were saying, "Hang Mike Pence."
Because it's common sense, John. It's common sense.
Now, by the way,
a lot of common sense to yell, "Hang the vice president."
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people are hanging their hat on him. The fact that Jonathan Karl said, they're saying hang Mike Pence, and Trump saying it's common sense. I think that's Trump blowing off that question at all and just getting locked into its common sense about the fraudulent vote kind of thing. I don't think he's saying it's common sense that you're going to hang Mike Pence, in all fairness. That said, I don't think
you're right.
I don't think he cares, which is as bad or worse in some cases. It is one thing to think this is a political enemy of mine who is going to be a part and parcel to the destruction of the United States of America. He is a Benedict Arnold. He is helping King George. He is going to undermine the existence of the very Constitution. Or, I don't care. If he gets hung or something, I don't know what. Maybe he does it, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But if he gets killed, what do I care? The depraved indifference aspect of it can also get brushed aside. Trump does not care about anybody but Trump, as many of the Sixers are finding out. There was no blanket pardon for those kids, and Steve Bannon and all these, and Rudy Giuliani and all these others thought that somehow the pardon that they did get in the Roger Stone case, that meant that they can just crime on after the pardon, and that stuff's sort of covered under it. Like, no. You don't understand. I know that these crimes are related to the stuff I was pardoned for. It's the same category.
It's the same thing,
so I
right?
should be able.
No double jeopardy.
Yeah, I was pardoned. Yeah, no, I was pardoned for murder. This is a murder. I'm murdering someone right now. So that's kind of like the murder I was pardoned for. So I should be able to keep murdering, right? Right? That seems logical.
Makes perfect sense.
So, but continuing, because it's common sense, he says
that you're supposed to protect. How can you, if you know a vote is fraudulent, right? Yeah. How can you pass on a fraudulent vote to Congress?
Okay. Well, one of the problems would be is that whole, if you know a vote is fraudulent, because you didn't know that at the time, him, and Pence certainly knew better because they were all in rooms with Trump's lawyers, and they talked to secretaries of state, and Pence was on the phone with all these governors because we were still in a pandemic. He was talking to all these folks. He knew it wasn't fraudulent. And the interesting thing was, and again, this is I have a conspiracy antenna, as do you. I just simply go, the chances are small. But if I were to think something, why is he decrying all the Republican states, especially the ones where like Brian Kemp was shifty when he was Secretary of State, controlling the elections in Georgia, and then eventually became governor and didn't distance himself from the duties of Secretary of State controlling the election in Georgia, and then he manages to win the election in the state? Like, that's sketchy as hell, right? That's why the appearance of that is what you try to avoid. The appearance of impropriety, right? So when Trump's like going after Republican states, largely, you're like, well, why does he think there was voter fraud in those states when he won them hands down? Could it be that he was he was actually attempting to pad the vote because he was grinding about the fact that he lost the popular vote. He thought he was going to win the Electoral College. Pretty sure about that because of the outsized control that Republicans have in that area. He thought he'd definitely tilt that way, but he'd still been grinding on the popular vote. So he went out and bought some votes. Like this is a ridiculous conspiracy theory.
This is what you do.
This is where your brain goes. That why would you go to the states you won and say, I know there's fraud there, other than, yeah, you put it there, right? That would be the thought. And then you go, well, nobody can tell who the fraudulent votes voted for, so maybe I can make the case that if I show the votes that were fraudulent that I put there by buying them, then I can assume that everywhere else I lost, it must have been even worse, right? That if you listen to Rudy Giuliani, that seems to be the argument. And it's absurd. It's goofy. But it points to your awareness of a crime. You know there was fraud. How do you know it was fraud? Now you think, you believe. If you believe something's fraudulent, wouldn't you want to wait? If you think something's fraudulent, wouldn't you be concerned and want to find out first? No, you know the vote is fraudulent. How do you know? Well, you know because you did it. That would be the only way you would know in that situation. Right? That's why you go after the red states. That's why you go after Republicans. And I don't have a problem with that. It's fun watching them go after rhinos. Nobody cares. Like that. I love when they kick each other. Like some of the videos lately, especially with Marjorie Taylor Greene on Bannon show, like I don't even feel like commenting. I just want to like sit back and let them eat each other.
Yeah, let it happen.
Right. We got to take a break. Where like the show has just blazed by today. It's been a great time, I have to say. And when we come back, happy ending. Genuinely happy ending. There's a couple of great.
I'm ready for it.
Oh, aren't we all? We'll be back. Okay, let me take this down, and I gotta get this down, I get this ready, and then there's another one. Okay. There's almost too many because I posted something else. Oh yeah. This is so nerdy, but nobody's gonna like. This is like, okay, hold on. One of the single biggest advances in energy storage happened this week.
Yay.
Yeah.
Is it a really big old barrel?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep, it's a big. They're old wine barrels.
Coming back right now.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending.
I am happy, you are happy, let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky, let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. 'Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling, let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning, I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Yay! So there's a lot of good news this week, and some of it is the kind of good news that you would expect. Right now, the main one I think that most people were like, this makes sense, we're kind of moving in this direction, it's nice to hear, I'm not shocked by it, but it's a good move, which is of course that Merck and Pfizer have both come out with 2 anti-COVID medicines, not along with the vaccines, but a medicine you would get in the hospital to fight the disease once you have it, once you become symptomatic, that will keep you from dying. And
hey, when you had shingles, did you take the antiviral?
I did not, and I should have, but I didn't know about it at the time. I just suffered. But yeah, and I have scars from it. Not huge, not a big deal, but they're there. You can definitely tell, huh? Yeah. Yeah. This is from the Newsbreak. We've waited 20 months for medicine to blunt the coronavirus, and now 2 have appeared. Earlier this month, the UK medicines regulator approved molnupiravir, the COVID antiviral developed by Merck, and Ridgeback Therapeutics, molnupiravir, which is fun to say.
It is.
Among adults with mild to moderate COVID who were at risk of developing serious disease. It cut the chances of being hospitalized or dying in half. Now, Pfizer has released results from the trials of its antiviral drug, Paxlovid, which is way easier to say than molnupiravir, which, by the way, sounds like a character in like Lord of the Rings that you don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy.
Right.
Molnupiravir, the king
neutral.
we cannot trust. That's right. Pfizer's released one. From its Paxlovid, these suggest it reduces the study suggests that it reduces the risk of hospitalization or death by 89% among the most vulnerable to COVID. And these are the people who already are tipping towards being a mess because of this. This is these are huge steps forward. More than likely, if you're in real danger, they will give you whichever one's available. And if you're not responding, they're going to give you Paxlovid in the hospital while they start giving you monoclonal antibodies and stuff like that, which is fantastic. So 2 of those. It mimics the building blocks of the genetic material of the virus itself and rejects it. It seems to work great. And it's the vaccines itself are 89, 90%. But what this could be is, and let's see, people are concerned, do I need a booster? Will it wear out over time? Blah, blah, blah. Will we have to get a shot every year? Was one of the big fears. Is this, and the mental control stuff that the right wing has come up with, like, this is how they're going to control us. They're going to give us a shot, and this one won't have the nanobite octopus that follows us, but the third one will. It's like the old Jim Jones, the first 3 glasses of Kool-Aid didn't have any poison, so I was like, it's fine. And then the 4th one gets you. That's their theory. Well, now, the vaccines may serve at this point simply to get us through the acute period. And in future, you may just, even if you've been vaccinated, but the coverage has waned over time. If you do get it and you're in this category, you'll be, once you show symptoms and you test positive, then you'll get the medicine and you will survive because you'll have, the benefits of antibodies helping you. And then this will get you over the top and make sure that it's basically like a flu, which is a fantastic step forward. I have to, this seems like, oh yeah, good. Oh yeah, cool. Oh good, they've got a couple of pills coming out. No, this is ginormous.
I have to
Considering what we've
confess, I
been
was
through,
like, oh, cool.
right? It's not oh cool. It's holy hell. This is like run around, screaming, clapping kind of stuff. Just like the vaccines, if not better, because what they do is they keep your idiot fellow citizens who, while they can self-fillet, may avoid vaccines from dying, and so you can argue politics with them forevermore, because we don't believe idiocy is a capital offense around here. But it also makes it so that people who can't get the vaccine have some other recourse, which is fantastic. So yes, it's a huge thing. It's great. We're moving to the point where the availability of these kind of antivirals will apply to other things as well. And the technology that helped create them in such a short time is the kind of thing that can expand over a lot of diseases. This is a giant leap forward medically as well, not just about this. So fantastic. The other thing is, I talked about this on my streaming show, but a new drug has been invented that they injected into the spinal cords of mice that had been intentionally paralyzed. They'd severed their spinal cord, and it regrew tissue, and the mice regained the ability to walk in 4 weeks. They didn't
So we are going to be healing mice? This is amazing.
That's right.
All the crippled mice.
That's right. All the crippled mice in the world we've had. Yeah.
Well, all the crippled mice. That should be like that's a title for something.
Yeah, it's either a book that ends up on Oprah's reading list, or a Tori Amos song. All the crippled mice don't walk down the street because they... All right. Sorry. So this is actually a gigantic thing, and I posted this on my Twitter feed at HalSparks if anyone wants to check it out. But the findings blew away everyone in the study. They were amazed. Neuroregeneration in the cells.
It's just never happened before. It's just an accepted impossibility.
Right. And now that's over. Like, this is the giant leap forward. That happened. Human trials are going to start within the year. This could be the end of paralysis, or the virtual end to it, at least from injury, let's say. Then the question is, can you, using stem cells and a similar treatment, if people have been born paralyzed or have spina bifida or other issues, can you reform it? This technology, they're saying, is going to have capabilities around ALS, around Alzheimer's, the rebuilding of regenerating degenerative diseases. The cells that are killed in that. It is extraordinary, and we should all be very happy. And then I'm going to nerd out. We only got a couple minutes left.
Okay.
So, point of order, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Many people will remember years ago that in my partnership with Honda as a rider of one of their motorcycles, which I love very much, I have a Honda Fury that I enjoy. It's a beast.
I thought it was a furry. Oh my God, I've been telling people wrong.
No. Yeah, that's right. I put wheels on the guy in the teddy bear suit in The Shining. That's uncomfortable. Now I have terrible images in my head. But
I'm gonna
early on, one of the Honda was one of the companies that in their factory in the United States, in California, was working on hydrogen cars. And they had one of the few hydrogen stations. There was another one across town. You could basically run your car on it, just going back and forth between the two of these. But it used a compressed hydrogen tank. That was the problem, is compressed air. And so as an explosive gas and all the other aspects made people nervous. Everybody was worried, like, what if hydrogen explodes? As if we haven't all watched cop movies where 2 bullets will make a gas vehicle explode like it's full of garbage bags full of fuel, which is, by the way, how they do that. I don't want to blow it for you, but that's how they blow up a car. They fill it with literally garbage bags full of gasoline, and then they detonate it, and it plumes out. That's where the giant billow comes from. It's gorgeous. But nobody seemed to be afraid of that, but they were worried about hydrogen in gas form. And how do you store it? How do you transport it? Where do you get it from? Largely, they're getting it out of methane. And when you get it out of methane, it's arguably dirtier than petroleum in some ways. because you have to use petroleum to do it. You need more than the energy you're getting from the hydrogen, and that was the hangup. Turns out a giant leap forward happened in the last couple of months, but was announced last week in hydrogen solid state storage. Storing hydrogen in a solid state, not a gas, in cartridges that you could roll up at a gas station effectively, take one of the cartridges out, pop it in your vehicle, and drive hundreds upon hundreds of miles. And the only thing coming out of the exhaust pipe, which there wouldn't be one, but would be a little drip of water. It's extraordinary. It's one of the things that we've got it. The range on it is incredible. It is better than gasoline and equally available. And because you can get it in solid state, that means you can get it directly from solar panels. The gas stations themselves can not only get these cartridges, but they can have panels up that constantly get it from the environment and fill the cartridges all the time.
So I just saw in the chat, are we this much closer to carbon freezing?
No, that's another step. We'll talk about that next week. Nerd. Yes. Okay. No, he's no good to me dead. I'm just saying. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Nerd.
I'm thanks, Chicago.
Thank you. Guys. See you next week.
Yeah. Cheers. Hold on, let me sign those guys out. I don't know. And by the way, stock-wise, that's also the big whisper. Where's all the petroleum money going to jump once the oil issue?
It's got to happen.
Oil's going to jack up. Yes, oil's going to jack up to about $100 a barrel, and people are going to be tired of it. So one of the upsides of rising gas prices is people, again, getting sick of paying for gas.
I was kind of wondering that about like big tobacco and marijuana. Like, was there going to be a big shift with that too?
Right. Well, yeah, it's an ongoing, but the problem is if you keep gas prices artificially low, for example, by subsidizing them and doing other stuff, you give people a false sense of security about it, and therefore they're like, it's the cheapest thing, and transitioning would be a big deal. I'll just stick with what I got. I'm not going to move over, right? That's the problem. But once it starts to go up so high that the cost of an EV by comparison is going down, and there's a lot of cheaper ones on the market. Obviously, the F-150 that's coming out is in normal car range. There are no used ones. That's the big difference. A lot of people are buying used gas vehicles. Eventually, there will be a market for used electric vehicles the same way. But the hydrogen switchover, it may be that the lithium-ion vehicles that there are lots of right now will be looked at as a transitional phase entirely on the scheme of on the technological scope of history. That they're going to last less time than a dial phone. So the end of paralysis, the Merck and Pfizer drugs that ultimately may be functional in many ways like the mRNA vaccines are against cancer itself. And then, of course, the hydrogen batteries in solid state is
Every time you say solid state, I think amplifier. I can't not.
Right. But that's because it's in a solid form. It's a magnet based or whatever. It's analog essentially. But they basically found a way to take gas and make an analog version of it. It stores it. The film that it's stored on in these cartridges is the thickness of a human hair, and it's on a reel basically. And as it unreels in this cartridge, it releases the hydrogen, and then that goes into a fuel cell and is converted into energy. And then when you're done, you just you eject it and pop it back in. It is so space age. Like, it's awesome. The idea that you would roll up at a gas station, you pop up a thing, you take out this cartridge after you've been driving for 600 or 1,000 miles on the thing.
Roads?
And you would go, here.
Where we're going.
We don't need roads. Right. It's amazing. And it is the technology will start coming online within 4 years. Like, it's going to be available in cars in 4 years. When are we getting a Mr. Fusion? That's exactly right. That's what everybody's talking about. Roads.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
Yes, right. Who's First Lady? Jane Wyman? Right.
Jane Wyman.
I suppose Jerry Lewis is Secretary of State or whatever it was. Yeah. But so anyways, the stock money, apparently, the people who invest in petroleum that know it's on its taper and know that there's money to be made right now for the next 8 months, but they're like, then what? They're all slowly but surely putting their money in what they think is the next big thing. The next big thing is hydrogen cartridges and storage for houses. There's this Australian company that makes a home storage battery. Let's see, solid state hydrogen home battery system, whatever. The Labo, yeah, it's an Australian company. It's really cool looking. I'll post the link on my Twitter right now, just so. This is. Hold on one second. I'm posting it on there just in case you want to look at it. It basically is a similar technology. It works as a solar sponge. You hook it up to your solar system, and then it stores it in a solid state form. And then at night, it releases the hydrogen back into the system. And hydrogen is everywhere. Yes, inexpensive, clean, small, renewable batteries. Yes, that's the main barrier. You're absolutely right, CSL. And this is a giant leap. Hydrogen's problem was in gaseous form. It had to be pressurized and it could blow up and blah, blah, blah. And it made everybody worry. And they looked at lithium, which you don't get to see all the damage that lithium does, like lithium mining and all the stuff that goes with it. You don't get to see that. That happens in another country to other people. So you don't think about it, right? It's like gas prices. Gas prices really cost Americans about $15 a gallon. We just pay for it in defense appropriations and subsidies and all these other things and environmental cleanup and stuff, right? You don't look at it. It's hidden. It's a hidden cost, right? So, Tweety Bug.
My mouse hovered over it and I had all these new reactions.
Oh, that's great. Look at that.
What's
I don't
this?
have any of those. Oh, that's LeBron James from.
So this must be Space Jam reactions.
Yeah, you downloaded the Space Jam kit because because it knows you.
Because it knows me so well.
Yeah, it does. It understands you. But I just tweeted that out with the hashtag HSRPM if you want to look at it. And that's just one of the technologies that's coming from this. We are, especially when they get up to what'll be effectively 7G Wi-Fi broadband type technology. You're talking about largely, oh God, we've been attacked by penguins.
Oh, I love that.
That one is violence. That graphic
I woke
is
up
violence.
this morning and shows violent penguins.
I wish Howlett would do some cartoon characters. I have done some cartoon characters.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you might recognize this little fella.
Hey.
This is Tack from Tack and the Power of Juju, the cartoon I did on Nickelodeon.
How long did that run for you?
3 years. I mean,
That's
it takes a lot
awesome.
longer to make. It's like 5 years
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make and 3 years to run. Yeah. Dude, where's my hydrogen? Exactly.
I love it.
I mean, this stuff. Hold on. I'll find the.
All right, Mr. Hal, I've got to go.
Yeah,
make
take
leave.
off. Do what you got to
This
do.
is horrible.
I'll be nerd tweeting for the next little bit.
You nerd tweet. I'll keep an eye on that. And anybody
I'll see you
in
next
my
week.
area who wants to come help rake leaves, I'm
Okay. You're having a group leave breaking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Hold on. Love you. Are you taking off?
In a second.
Okay.
Hi, Summer. Bye, Summer.
She can hear you, but hi.
Yeah. She can't hear you, but hi, because I have headphones in.
Hi.
So, okay. Yeah, give me 1 second, and I'm just signing off. Love you. Oh, right there. Excuse me, guys. I have to go, too. Excuse me. Bye, Johnny Million. Oh, there he goes. All right, hold on. He always dumps out before I get a chance to kick him off the show proper. I will see you guys later. Take care of yourselves. I'm going to tweet out all those articles with the happy ending in a couple minutes. And I'm not planning on streaming later on today. Summer looks younger than Hal. She is. Anyways, peace. And, isn't everyone, do people not know that I'm over 1,000 years old at this point? Genuinely. All right. I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else, and have a beautiful weekend. By the way, everybody, Chip says hi. He decided to come down and say hi real quick. So, okay. Bye.